Do you like mayonnaise or do you like Miracle Whip? Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Ljs Garage. Behind me is a 2016 Honda Civic EX. Stay tuned, we're going to find out exactly why this is one of America's favorite cars. So back in 2015, Honda decided to introduce the 10th generation of the Honda Civic. As you guys will notice, there are quite a bit of changes compared to what the old Honda Civic used to look like. I'm talking about like the first generation back in like the 1970s. But either way, we're going to walk around this car, check out the inside, and I'm going to show you guys some features, some things, and we're going to talk a little bit more about what exactly the 10th generation of the Honda Civic has to offer. As you guys can see, this is the sedan model, but you can actually get this in a coupe or a hatchback. I prefer the sedan. I think it looks real good, but honestly, the hatchback actually looks pretty darn good too. Actually, the coupe looks really good too. So honestly, any one that you choose, you're going to be pretty happy with. I think the styling was well done. This specific color is called Platinum White Pearl. Honda did a pretty good job with naming it, but that's not my favorite color. My favorite color is actually the red one, and that's Molten Lava Pearl. See what they did there? Cool name, and then at the end they made it luxury and fancy by adding that pearl twist. It's a good thing though that I'm not in charge of picking car names, because I think I would actually have to call this like 2% milk, maybe even whole milk. I'm not the most creative when it comes to naming cars or colors, so I'm gonna stick to what I do. We're gonna pause right here for a second. I'm gonna show you guys, you get cool things like keyless entry. So you just put your hand in here, hit this to lock it. It's pretty awesome. Again, for a $19,000 starting price car, for them to offer something like that, kind of standard nowadays, but great that you had this back in 2016.
Remote start.
So there are about 7 different trims / variations of the Honda Civic. I won't bore you with all the details of all of them. We're just gonna talk about the EX today. But in order, it goes from the LX, which is the base model, then you've got the Sport, then you've got the EX, you've got the EXL, and then the top of the line, the Touring. And then if you're really a driving enthusiast, they've got the SI, which is manual only. And then on top of that, you go to the 306 horsepower Civic Type R. One of my favorite things that the EX comes with over the base model is it comes with remote start, which is awesome because a lot of BMWs don't even offer that. So to get that on a Civic, that's a win right there. Up front, Honda's done a great job revising this front end. What they've done is they've added LED headlights. They've added really cool daytime running lights. That's also a nice touch. And then overall, I mean, what they've done with this grille is pretty cool. One thing that I do have a problem with is this right here. I know that regulation wants it to be orange and yada yada, but I've seen a lot of people change these out to clear and it looks so much better. I don't know about you guys, but when you look at this car, that orange is the first thing that I noticed. Back in 2015, you got these 16-inch wheels as standard, but nowadays that's actually bumped up to now 17s on the EX, so that's a nice little win right there. But I think these are actually good looking wheels, or I should say good looking rims, whatever you want to call them. They're just a little small, but I will say that these actually are pretty good looking. Honda did a good job styling them, and it actually works with this design really, really well. On the back end though, I think this is where they've done the best job, because I love these taillights, this little C shape that they're going for. If you put a little spoiler on here, this actually won't look too bad. Don't go too crazy and grab one of the Type R wings and throw them on here. That won't work. According to Honda, there is no wrong angle on this car. All the angles are right. I've got to say that compared to the last generation of the Civic, Honda's done a good job bumping it up just a notch. You know, they really pushed it with the Type R design, but what they've done on this is they've made it so that you're getting an economical car, but without that whole, oh, you bought a budget car type of deal. Instead, it looks really good, it looks elegant, it looks like someone actually put some thought into this design. Some might say that this is due to the fact that the Corolla kind of went all the way and Toyota decided that they're gonna redesign their whole lineup and everything looks mean and aggressive, so Honda decided, hey, you know, we need to do the same thing, we need to keep up. That's why you gotta love competition. But trying to compare a Corolla and a Civic is like, hey, do you like mayonnaise or do you like Miracle Whip? There's really no point in arguing. It's just whatever. Nobody likes a dry sandwich anyways, but this is what you get. Even though the Civic is technically a compact car, it's mid-size, but it's small size. It's the smallest mid-size. It's in a weird place, but it's right above the Honda Fit, below the Accord. One thing that's a little weird with this is the opening of this trunk. As you can see, it's kind of like this weird curvature thing going on. It's just a little weird, just a little impractical. But once you figure out a way to maneuver things in there, it's actually a good opening. It's not really that funny, but whenever I see this, the first thing that I thought of was the whole, I got your nose. It's kind of like that, because you got your nose, but it's really not. You just kind of do the little thing, you know? If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, just keep watching and move on with life. But if you do, then cool, haha. We're gonna stop right here and pause for a minute. As you can see, this is your right passenger side mirror. and there's a little camera right here. I'll show you guys all about that in a little bit. But you'll notice this is the driver's side, and there's something missing. We do not actually have a camera here. So why did Honda decide to put one on the passenger side but not the driver's side? They did some research and figured out that it makes more sense to have it on the right side so you're not looking over your shoulder or doing anything like that. It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. I think they should have put it on both sides and then you would have been happy. Honda calls that lane watch or whatever. It's pretty cool, clever name. It's exactly what it does. It watches the lane and makes sure that you know that there's anything on the other side and whatnot. So it does a good job protecting you. There are a couple other safety features. This one doesn't have a whole lot of them because now with the newer models, the 18s and 19s and all that, that stuff comes pretty standard on all of the Civics and everything. So now you can buy a Civic for about $19,000, just the base model if you wanted. And now you can actually get all those cool safety features that we all love in the year 2019. Now for my favorite part, we're gonna go ahead and pop this hood right here. And we're gonna take a look at what powers this awesome Civic. One thing I gotta say is Honda kind of messes with you a little bit here. So let's say you want a manual transmission, but you want the 1.5 liter turbo because it makes a little bit more power. Well, you'd have to the only way you can get a manual is on the two lower trims, the Sport or the LX. If you want to get the manual with the more powerful engine, well, guess what? You can't, because the more powerful engine only comes on the EX and higher. And then not only that, but you can't get a manual transmission until you get up to the SI, which is quite a bit more than just the base model. This specific one has the 2-liter inline-4 that makes 158 horsepower, 138 foot-pounds of torque. And now for comparison, the 1.5 liter has about 170 something horsepower and 180 foot-pounds of torque, somewhere in that ballpark. And it does 0 to 60 in about 6.8 seconds, whereas the 2 liter does 0 to 60 in about 7 something seconds. So it's not a huge difference, but it's enough to kind of, you know, make you a little jealous because these guys have the faster, more peppier motor. So I have had the pleasure of driving both of the different engines, and I can't say that one is worth it over the other, but I like the turbo just because you get to say that you have a turbo, but then you have to say that you have a 1.5 liter, which isn't the most impressive thing. I find this kind of interesting. Well, maybe not, but let's talk some science here. So the 1.5 liter runs 16 PSI of boost. For you car guys out there that really know about that stuff, that's a good bit of boost for a little tiny turbo. And for those of you that aren't car guys, I'll give you an idea of like how much boost we're talking about. So the average person can blow about 1.3 PSI. Yeah, I Googled it, so what? But if you're one of the gifted out there that have better blowing abilities, you can do about 1.9 if you're on the gifted end. So like the professional trumpet players and those of you guys that do the woodwind instruments, you got a little bit more blowing capability. So let's say 1.9, but this little turbo, well, not this one, but the turbo does 16 PSI. Fun fact. So here I am getting ready to get in the back seat of this beast. As you can see, I'm comfortable. There's a good bit of space back here. We've got cleaning supplies, more cleaning supplies, cleaning wipes, and even with all those things back there, I still fit comfortably. 5'9" for the record, and this seat is set a little bit back a little bit further. I'd say someone about 6 foot tall could sit here comfortably. So it's not the biggest car, so 6 foot tall, 5'9", so good sized adults can fit back here. But otherwise, there's not a whole lot. You've got 2 cup holders back here, and technically you could fit a couple more in these door cup holders here. So maybe let's call that 4, 2 and 2, 4. So yes, good there. There are really no rear vents, nothing like that. No climate controls, no auxes, no inputs, nothing like that. No charging things, nothing at all back here. But again, you're talking about a Honda Civic EX with not a whole lot of different options back here because this is not what this car is about. It's just a practical car to get you from A to B with a couple nice things, which we'll talk about some of the nice things once we move up into the main magic area where things happen. All right, guys, so now we're in the front of the car. Now we can talk about some more of the finer details here. The seats are cloth, very comfortable. What's crazy is when you have seats that are like 8-way adjustable, but then you have BMW and Mercedes and all of them that are doing seats that are like 1,000-way adjustable. So you can move your headrest, do this, do that, you know, go up, go down, go sideways, you know, go in, out, all sorts of different things. But these are just simple manual seats. You know, you got a pull lever. If you guys are unfamiliar with that, if you're a little on the fancier side, you just got a lever, you can slide it, real easy, nothing to it. You don't really need to grab your user manual for any of it. The infotainment system is pretty solid. I'll show you guys about that in a little bit. You do get a sunroof, that's pretty nice. if you're someone that enjoys having a little bit of the extra sun rays on you. Otherwise, with the EX, you do get a lot of blank buttons. That's kind of a big thing with the Hondas. It kind of drives me crazy, but I get why they do it. Even in the Civic Type R, again, you find those blank buttons, and it's okay. It is what it is. There's no heated seats, no heated steering wheels, nothing like that. You miss out on a lot of those things. You kind of have to start looking at the Touring and the EXL for some of those nicer things if you really care about that. If you don't, you'll be pretty happy in here. I mean, if you've ever rented a car or been in a Focus or been in a Corolla, pretty standard affair, but Honda is a little bit nicer, I would say. You know, some things just feel a little bit better, but overall, there's not really a lot to say, nothing to really hate on. Back to the whole mayonnaise versus Miracle Whip, it's all right. You just don't want a dry sandwich, so at the end of the day, you're still winning. If you've been in any of the recent Hondas, you've seen this before, pretty common. You do get Bluetooth, you do get Android Auto, you get Apple CarPlay, all those things are standard, which is pretty awesome to have in a sub $20,000 car, let's say that. You do get cool things like different apps. You got a web browser, gallery, you can do all sorts of different cool things. It kind of like has an Android interface. Overall, I mean, the Honda Link system is pretty cool. There's really not much to it. I do find it annoying that there's not really like physical buttons, and I don't know how I feel about it. And this annoying beeps, they kind of drive me crazy. But overall, I mean, once you sit down with it and get used to it, there's nothing hard, nothing complicated. On the higher trims, you get things like dual climate control, the heated seats. On this one, you can see you got the button right here for the heated side mirrors, and you can just activate those right there. So that's a pretty nice thing to have. Pretty standard, pretty solid, gets the job done. I would say a B+, maybe a B-, but somewhere in that ballpark, no complaints. Down here, everything should kind of look like most cars. You've got your electronic parking brake, you got this eco mode or economy mode, and then blank buttons. Grr, that drives me mad. The brake hold, for those of you that don't know, is pretty cool. It's one of my favorite things nowadays, especially coming from a car that has a dual clutch. So basically, when you are driving in traffic, you put your foot on the brake, you come to a stop, and you can take your foot off the brake. The car will hold itself. Ignore that the doors are open. On the right-hand side, you got your fuel gauge. On the left-hand side, temperature gauge. And then in the middle, you got your big old tach, which is always cool if you had the manual, but this one's CVT, so none of that. On this left side, you'll see you can push this button. I'm gonna push it right now. And now it'll allow you to see your right camera. That's the one that's on the passenger door, which is pretty cool. So it's a little blind spot monitor in a way, but not quite. It's just a little side camera. You got your cruise control, all your settings for that there. On this left-hand side, you've got your audio controls, your Bluetooth controls. What's pretty cool is you could use this and you can slide it down to turn your audio back down. Hopefully I don't get demonetized, but that's a pretty cool thing. I don't know if a lot of people know that, but I discovered that. You got automatic headlights, wiper blades, a cool push start button. If you know me, backup cameras that are ugly drive me crazy. This one's okay. I'd say it's like a C+. It's got a couple different options though, which kind of makes me want to bump it up to like a B as well. Safety is a big thing for me. If you can get a hold of those safety features, make sure that you do, because it could save your life, literally. Driving it, it's comfortable, it's smooth, handling is there. Speed, it's not bad. Still, like I said, quick. Let me punch it here real quick. So, it gives you a lot of time to think when you're getting ready to hit 60. So you got to think carefully when you want to pull out in front of somebody and jump in traffic and everything like that. But taking roundabouts like I am right now is actually really not bad. Just stop breaking stuff in the car. It doesn't slide around too much. It doesn't really misbehave. It's very composed. Not sports car composed, but regular car composed. You gotta love being able to get 42 something miles per gallon on the highway. That's always nice too. In the city, I think it's 32. So again, that's a win. Even though they're cloth seats, comfortable. Braking, typical Honda stuff. I mean, they know how to make cars. Don't ever for a second just say, hey, it's just a Honda. While that may be the case, that it is just a Honda, Honda knows how to make really good cars. So you gotta give them the respect, because it's definitely due. Road noise is really not bad. Suspension's comfortable too. I mean, there's This is a great college car. This is a great first car. This is just a solid car. Like, whenever if someone tells you, hey, do you have a recommendation for a car, and you want to give them a safe car that you know that they can't really hate you for, this is kind of the car. Same with the Corollas. It's just, hey, this is a car. You're not going to complain a lot. You're not really going to hate much. You're just going to like it, and you're going to be okay with it. It'll treat you well. It'll take care of you. And at the end of the day, you won't end up eating a dry sandwich. Just an average cool car. And there's nothing wrong with that. But that's all I got for you guys. Thank you so much for checking out yet another episode of LJ's Garage. Be sure to hit that like button, the comment button, and if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing. Stay tuned for the next episode.